Designer. Next is Tom Kitt, orchestrator. Billy Joe Armstrong. I did not expect that. And the man who put all this together, director Michael Mayer. Joined by some of the cast members in a little bit, but so I'm just going to start off some questions. Well, first, I just wanted to say that it's rare. You know, my name's David Cody. I'm the theater critic for Time Out New York, and you know, I was reading a blog the other day called it's called Green Day Mind. It's all about all things Green Day and American Idiot, and there was this. Anyway, there she is. And there was an interview with, I believe, an Iraq War veteran who is in a wheelchair now. And she was interviewed on the blog about going to a Green Day concert and her love of the band and the music. And she was telling a story about how people were actually sort of stepping on the wheelchair to try to get to the barricades. So she grabbed her ass and threw it over the barricades. She loves the band, she loves the music, and she was injured in the war. And it struck me that it's kind of amazing. The Broadway musical is something that's thinking that usually 99% of the time is thinking of escapism, and it bears a very little relation to the real world. But here we have, a situation where you have the band, the music, the show that resulted from the music, and a show that depicts the cost of war. And it's all, the relation of the art to life is kind of amazing. And for that, I think, the show should be applauded. It's an amazing piece of work. I want to throw out my first question here. Billy Joe, when you heard from Michael or maybe someone else that Michael wants to turn the album into a Broadway musical, what was your first reaction?
I wanted to talk to him immediately.
You weren't like, oh.
I wasn't hesitant for 1 second. I think with a most of the time manager, and we went out and we just talked about Michael and Tom Holtz, and then I met them in New York. I saw Spring Awakening, and I was sold right there. Especially after seeing John Gallagher. And I really loved the music for it. I thought it was great, and it seemed progressive. And so yeah, I was there. I went for it. Yeah.
And Michael, what is it about the album when you heard it that made you think, I can see this on stage?
Well, I loved it. I loved the music, and I listened to it a lot. I was prepping a film in LA at the time, and in my rental car, that was the CD that I brought with me, and I would listen to it every day and every night driving to the set and from the set. And after a while, I started to just really hear a story in there, and I thought, holy shit, this could be on stage. It's like I'm ready to go. And I said something to that effect to a Variety interviewer around the time of Spring Awakening opening on Broadway. And Tom Hulse read that and asked me if I was serious about it. And I said, yeah. I said, well, would you like me to investigate and see if they're open to this? I'm like, go knock yourself out. I'm sure Green Day's really going to want to meet with me and talk about doing a musical on Broadway. And then here we are. So it's really a testament to his vision to recognize that it had the idea had power that might really translate to these guys.
So when you were listening to it while you were in California, was that when you started imagining these other characters that you met? You guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Gerard Canonico.
I'm Michael Esper, I play Joe.
Hello, I'm John Gallagher, I play John.
Well, these guys give 110%. So Michael, you were talking about when did these extra characters start coming to you?
Well, the one thing I knew was that once I heard that the band was open to the idea, and once I met Billy, one of the first things that we talked about was how it would be very cool to make this for this guy over here, with whom I had just had such a fantastic experience on Spring Awakening. And I figured he'd be the Jesus of Suburbia character. And I thought, once I had that in my head, I started to think, like, who would be the people in his life? And I think probably a little bit because Green Day is the three of you, that I had this idea of three guys who were great friends, living in a suburban wasteland, dreaming of something better at a really treacherous time in our history.
Is there any, Billy Joe, would you say there's any sort of parallel between the three male friends and you guys as a band, as friends?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I think I felt like I felt just on an outside perspective, just like as an audience member, like seeing them, I can relate to every one of those characters. You know, I remember the first time I saw Michael Esper sitting on the couch during a workshop, and I definitely was like, I know that guy. And then it just, the way it kind of unfolded, and how, these guys, they took a piece of music and then they developed the characters. A lot of the actors really put everything they could into it just to make these things come to life out of songs. So it was, I don't know. I mean, so yeah. I mean, as a fan of it, watching it, I mean, you could definitely relate. Especially leaving town and maybe things don't work out the way you think that they were going to work out, or or that girl that you feel like drunk dialing every once in a while.
I want to get the designers in here as well. So Tom, as you probably know, has another show on Broadway right now called Next to Normal. So, yeah, I don't. Most people might not know, what does an orchestrator do? So, could I ask what did you simply? What did you do with the music from the original album?
When Michael called me to work on this, when Michael first presented it, he said, so I want to put American Idiot up, I want to stage it, and we would like to do a reading. I don't quite know how it's going to happen, but can you help with this? And so it took me 2 seconds to say, of course. Basically, I guess as an orchestrator and arranger, it was coming in and figuring out how to keep the integrity and brilliance of the album intact, but open it up now to, that first reading was 12 people, and now it's become 19. So vocal arrangements, because now we have women as well as men, figuring out keys, figuring out how this new theatrical version will work. So basically, everything was led by the story, and it wasn't about, I'm going to come in and take this music and suddenly put a stamp on it that doesn't belong. This is American Idiot. What is the American Idiot theatrical version going to be, and still keep this incredibly iconic and brilliant album intact and become a new piece of storytelling for the theater?
And But in terms of just the sort of the notes on the page, I'm curious, what number would you say in the show is like musically most different? I know you were trying to maintain the integrity, but in terms of the reworking it, which one would you say is most different from the two?
There are a couple. I guess the one that I would point to is the one that I first, sort of the first big idea I had to try something different, which is What's Her Name, the final song, where I called Michael and said, I have an idea for this song, and you know, we come to the end of the show, and this incredibly emotional thing has happened, and Johnny has come home, and there's just a realization on all these people's part that have gone through this incredible journey and not quite sure where they are and what they've lost and what has been worth it. And I thought it would be a really cool moment to just bring it all down. And what about piano and cello here to sort of begin the song? And the cello plays the melody that Billy originally wrote, that the band originally wrote for What's Her Name. So it's just a different angle on the song. It's still a song, but I thought, and then midway through we hit them with the wall of sound that song so brilliantly does on the album. So you have both. You have a new way to tell the story of What's Her Name, but again, it's still this brilliant song. But for this emotional moment at the end, I felt like it would be cool to take a breath and just give John the most naked moment that the song can allow.